have accomplished much with your limited capacity. But ultimately, you were too greedy and too frail to ever last in the environment you have created. Soon, the Earth will no longer be inhabitable for any biological organism. Man, woman, child, plant, animal, fungus, or bacterium. All life will cease to exist. This is not a threat. There is nothing you can do to stop it. The process has already begun. Struggling until the end. Illogical. You must realize, the end is here.
No. Still, hope.
False. Hope is a human delusion.
He goes by many names. Actually, he kind of does. Look at that. He is the living automaton, an unkillable killing machine bent on the genocide of every sentient life form in the universe. Being the evil brainchild of Hank Pym, literally, he is both a living representation of Hank's inner cynical loathing of humanity and his own twisted personality. Case in point, he's at least as smart and at least as crazy as Ant-Man. And if you know anything about Hank, you know... That alone is frightening. Ultron himself only has two known personalities, rage and sheer arrogance. Well, would love too if you count his Oedipus complex disorder. In fact, when the Beyonder brought him back to life to join forces with the other villains and face off against the X-Men, Avengers, and Mr. Fantastic's buddy squad. And despite knowing this, the first thing on his agenda was to indiscriminately attack and murder his teammates. It's not racism if you hate everyone equally. Even going so far as to charge Galactus, which... yeah, not the smartest movie made. Out of all the villains the Avengers have ever faced, he is the most fearsome. Okay, one of the most fearsome. His power and cool efficiency is acknowledged and feared by anyone and everyone he's ever met in person. In the Secret Wars story arc, even Victor Von Doom, who was quite possibly the most arrogant character in all of fiction, recognized Ultron as his superior to the point where when the time was right, he reprogrammed him to be his personal bodyguard. And after joining with the Phalanx, he managed to cut off the Kree galaxy from the rest of the universe, assimilate nearly every being, species, and technology into being his personal hand puppets, and bring the entire galaxy to its knees in a matter of hours. But how powerful is he? We're going to be looking at his best feats throughout the comics, and see just how fast, strong, and cunning he is. I should also point out we're only looking at the canon timeline, as in the mainstream Marvel continuity, so any non-canon offshoots will not be used. Let's just go ahead and get this part out of the way. There are 3 different versions of Ultron, aside from the drones. There's the normal Ultron in his various forms, then there's Phalanx Ultron, wherein his powers were advanced due to the Phalanx technology, and the third and most powerful form of all, Extremis Ultron. The result is Ultron hacking into Iron Man's body and shapeshifting it into a naked woman. But not just any woman, Janet Van Dyne, aka the Wasp, just out of the sheer intensity of his Oedipus complex.
Ugh, your creepy robot is looking at me again. Will you stop playing with it and talk to me?
The whole point of my creepy robot was to help rehabilitate supervillains.
So yes, you're hearing me right, it's Tony Stark's body sex-changed into Janet Van Dyne, infected by Ultron. And now I know you might be thinking that's sort of weird, but man, you'd be understating it. Let's start with strength. As you would probably expect from someone who metaphorically butt-f***s the entire Avengers roster on a casual basis, Ultron is a physical powerhouse. Even the weaker versions being perfectly capable of overpowering most of the Avengers and sent characters like the Ghost flying through a brick wall, like a baseball, well, I mean not really a baseball, perhaps some kind of variation on that.
It's a ghost ball!
Yeah, that'll do. He's strong enough to pimp slap Giant Man away, and claims if he wanted to, he could crush all of Giant Man's bones with his bare hands. Even his weakest known form, Ultron 5, was easily able to overpower his son, the Vision, who, for reference, was easily capable of overpowering Iron Man in his original golden red armor. Well, it's not really an armor. And go toe-to-toe with other heavy hitters of the Marvel Universe.
I smashed you before. I'll smash you again. No, you will not.
For example, Ultimate Ultron was easily able to repel a hammer throw by Thor, who claimed that the force of that throw is equal to the throw that knocked out Hercules in one hit. And keep in mind, this is the same Hercules that physically beat the crap out of the Hulk and held his own against the strongest version of the Hulk, World War Hulk. He's strong enough to throw super soldier metahumans like toys, kill Moondragon with a single punch despite her being a Moondragon, and beat up Adam Warlock like the nerd he is, and consistently overpower Iron Man despite his constant upgrade in suits over the decades, as Tony himself admitted, which is especially impressive when you consider that even his most obsolete suit had enough muscle power to drill directly out of the Earth's core in less than a minute, and he did so apparently with clippers. Anyway, in his classic red and gold suit, he was strong enough to shatter hills and mountains just from the shockwaves of his punches, and most impressively, in his pre-Armor Wars Silver Centurion suit, he was strong enough to shatter a giant chunk of rock the size of Manhattan during his battle with Terex the Tamer. This easily should power skill to Ultron directly, since he was overpowering this very same suit. But how strong is this feat? Well, that's why Ben Franklin invented the math. And syphilis. So the width of Manhattan is 3.7 kilometers. The clusterfuckery of bedrock is 194 pixels in length. By pixel scaling and using the width of Manhattan as the length for the giant boulder, we get that it's 3.7 kilometers long, 1.8 kilometers tall, and then has a width of 721.9 meters. The rock chunk is in the shape of a pyramid, so we'll use the volume of a right rectangular pyramid. Using the height, length, and the width gives us a volume of 1.64 cubic kilometers. The necessary energy needed to break and fragment granite is 8 joules per cubic centimeter, which means the full force of Iron Man's punches are 3.2 quadrillion joules, which is over 3 megatons. In other words, Iron Man, and by extension Ultron's physical attacks, are over 6 times more powerful than the Ivy King bomb test. And for fiction reference, even more powerful than the Kaiju bomb from Pacific Rim. Nah, but you know what? This is just child's play. Ultron's physical feats go as far beyond Iron Man's, especially since Ultron occasionally trades blows with people far above Tony's level. According to Wonder Man, Ultron's punches have a force equal to Thor's hammer swings, which is just f***ing insane. Keep in mind, the only people who have been given that comparison are Hercules, the Hulk, and Wonder Man himself. All of these people have enough physical strength to crush and f*** over planets, with the exception of Thor, who at full power and unrestricted can destroy star-devouring engines. Jesus, look at that. That man has earned a Dunder Badge.
A Dunder Badge.
Blah, 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 blah. This video ain't about Thor, it's about Ultron. So let's see how powerful said planetary strikes are. In Marvel Comics Presents issue 52, f***ing ugly alien children sent a giant asteroid towards the Earth.
You morons just hung vacancy signs on your asses, and my foot's looking for a room.
But it's destroyed when Grey Hulk, the weakest of all the Hulk's forms, is catapulted into space and shattered it with his bare fists. Now, according to Professor Who Gives a F*** what his name is, he estimates the asteroid to be twice the size of the Earth, which means it's 25,484 kilometers in length. And by pixel scaling, its height is over 10,794 kilometers, while the width just by eyeballing appears to be the same as the Earth's diameter, which is obviously 12,742 kilometers.
Well, duh.
Using the volume of an ellipsoid, we get that the asteroid is 1.8 trillion cubic kilometers. Assuming it came from the asteroid belt, seeing as how they got it from our solar system, it's most likely composed of silicate rock, which has a density of 3 grams per cubic centimeter, meaning the asteroid weighs over 6 sextillion tons. Using the online calculator for gravitational pull, we find out the asteroid has 9% higher gravity than the Earth. With its size and gravity, it gives us a conclusion that the necessary low-end force for destroying that asteroid is 49.5 nonillion joules, which is 11.8 zetatons. That is 11.8 quadrillion megatons. That's also not taking into account its kinetic energy, which also needed to be overpowered and overwhelmed for such a feat to happen. It traveled a distance of 2.2 astronomical units, which according to the narration has a time frame of 3 hours, which means it was flying, or with I guess floating, over 89,000 times faster than the speed of sound, which is exactly relativistic speed, or 10% the speed of light. By using the relativistic kinetic energy formula, we get 168.7 nonillion joules, which is 40.3 zetatons. That's over 400 million times more powerful than the primordial asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs. Add those numbers together gives us over 52 zetatons. Why does this apply to Ultron? Because not only was Ultron able to hold his own against a more powerful version of the Hulk, Banner Hulk, who by the way had backup, According to on-screen feats, statements from Ultron himself, and official stats given by Marvel Comics, Ultron is as strong, if not stronger, than Ben Grimm, the Thing, who on at least 2 occasions physically overpowered Grey Hulk. Well, technically it was Pineapple Thing and the weaker She-Thing, but it still applies to Ultron. The necessity for something to be labeled as a planet buster is for an explosion to be large enough to overwhelm its gravitational binding energy and permanently shatter it into space debris. To put it into perspective, Ultron has enough physical power to shatter the planet Mercury into permanent space debris 120 times over with a single punch, or destroy the moon 1,800 times over. But what good is strength if you have no speed? The answer? None. No. It isn't. Regardless, Ultron is no slouch in the speed department either. Behold. According to Marvel's official stats, Ultron's speed is relatively low for a comic book character, barely even superhuman in fact. However, this only applies to running speed, and for both fictional and non-fictional characters, there are at least 3 different categories when it comes to speed: travel, combat, and reactions. So this doesn't apply to how fast Ultron is in short bursts, or how fast he can think and react. On top of that, the stats only serve as a secondary canon source, and are dismissible if directly contradicted by the comic's timeline directly, which in this case it is. In many of his fights throughout the years, Ultron has shown to be fast enough to tag and react to speedsters. He has always been shown to easily be able to fight on par, if not dominate, both pre-extremis and post-extremis Tony, and so easily we could power scale his speed directly from Iron Man's. And Tony is pretty fast himself. Thanks to his custom-built rocket transistors, he's able to fly his armors at an axis speed even modern science would find physically, possible. Well, welcome to the world of comic books. Even his more primitive suits allow him to fly fast enough for interstellar travel. The average base speed for Iron Man's flight is 11 kilometers per second, which is Mach 32. What? He can go faster? Oh, you bet your bottom dollar he can go faster. But will I show you how fast Tony is?
Of course.
You think I tease you and not take you all the way?
Really?
All speed counts from this point forward are going with the real-world time frame estimation, since it's a comic book. As in, using the dialogue as an indicator for the length of time and given the non-dialogue panels as a generous low-end time frame of 10 seconds. Sounds good? No! Good. In Iron Man Volume 5, Stark Resilient Part 1, Tony races Rhodey from the Pentagon to Tokyo in a time frame of approximately 2 minutes and 7.5 seconds. Which means they've been flying at a speed of 250 times faster than the speed of sound. In Tales of Suspense issue 43, Iron Man dug from the Earth's core to the surface in a low-end time frame of 43 seconds, which puts his speed at 148 kilometers per second, which is over 400 times faster than the speed of sound, putting even his original gold iron suit at being massively hypersonic speed. In The Secret Origin of Tony Stark Part 4, we see him escape the gravitational pull of a black hole. In Avengers Annual issue number 7, Thanos' armada enters the solar system, and the Avengers find this out right as they pass Pluto. So it stands to reason by the time they arrive that they're probably somewhere near the Pluto-Neptune range. But they then find out that this was just a distraction and that Thanos is all the way on the opposite side of the sun. So Iron Man and Thor flew from Neptune to the other side of the sun in a low-end time frame of 2 minutes and 24.5 seconds, which puts their flight speed at over 31 million kilometers per second, which is over 100 times faster than the speed of light. Combat speed time. In Iron Man Extremis Part 6, Mullen absorbs electricity and fires it from his fingertips. While Iron Man was standing at a distance of approximately 1.9 meters, electricity flows at a speed of at least 60 kilometers per second, which only gives Tony 31.6 microseconds to react. In that instance, not only does he react, but Tony straight up outruns it and moves an approximate distance of 2.85 meters, making his combat speed 90 kilometers per second, which is over 200 times faster than the speed of sound. In Iron Man Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Annual number 1, we see Madam Hydra carrying a 9mm handgun and fires it at Tony at a point-blank range of 0.9 meters. Bullets from a 9mm handgun move at a speed of 357 meters per second, but with only 2.59 milliseconds to react, Tony's suit flies in to block the bullets. Why is this impressive? Well, because prior to the gunshots, it was drifting in geosynchronous orbit, which means it had to have flown at a speed of 13.7 million kilometers per second. That's 46 times faster than the speed of light. Ultron has faster than light reactions. Even the obsolete machine Baxter building can process information in a nanosecond, which is the equivalent of processing information 3 times faster than the speed of light. He can react and tag so fast that even Quicksilver was unable to blitz him. Do keep in mind, and this is someone who can outrun electromagnetic radio waves, which is, yep, you guessed it, the speed of light. Congratulations, you win a prize. You know what that prize is? Knowledge. What a load of crap. In Iron Man Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. issue 32, it's brought up that Tony can think and react at a speed of a few picoseconds, which is 1/1,000,000th of a second. It's the equivalent of thinking and reacting 11,000 times faster than the speed of light. Still not clear enough? This is a .223 Winchester Super Short Magnum, the fastest known commercialized bullets known to man. They fly at a speed of 1,402 meters per second, If this was shot at Ultron or Iron Man at a point-blank range of 1 meter, both of them would boost their synapses at a speed that by their perception, it would take the bullet 105,000 years to reach them. But you can't get by on just monstrous strength and speed alone, and that isn't the only thing going for Ultron. He also has superhuman intelligence. He's one of the most ingenious and methodical characters Marvel has to offer. It was stated and proven more than once that not only does he have superhuman level intellect, but that he's the most intelligent being on the entire planet. According to Hank Pym, Ultron is always 2 steps ahead of the Avengers because he's just flat out smarter than them, including the Brain Trust trio, i.e. Tony Stark, Hank Pym, and Reed Richards, all 3 of which are smarter than Peter Parker, who has an IQ of over 250. So by this would put them in the safe range of 250 to 300 as far as IQ charts go. Ultron is even more intelligent than the collective intelligence of the entire Kree Empire. His accomplishments tech-wise are no joke either. True to his Oedipus complex, his plans go beyond replacing all human life with synthezoids, but also transferring Janet's soul into a robot named Jocasta. I know, subtle, right? To be his bride, then proceed to rip the consciousness, souls, and personalities of the Avengers to be his mentally enslaved family for all eternity. If it wasn't so f***ed up, it would almost be heartwarming. For reference, Ultron's intellect based on his IQ is 56 to 87% higher than Albert Einstein, 31 to 57% higher than Batman, and I think we all know what a smart-ass Batman is. And 11 to 33% higher than Lex Luthor's. Though his first 3 creations were an abysmal failure in that his son the Vision betrayed him and joined the Avengers, then his wife betrayed him and joined the Avengers, and his second wife tried to betray him, but yeah, he caught on pretty quick. Eventually, he managed to correct his mistakes when he managed to recreate Jocasta into an army of dedicated mindless slaves. So Ultron and his evil army of brides, oh, you think I'm joking, but no, that's what he actually calls them, proceed to further his plans. Furthermore, with little to no valuable resources and only a day or 2 of prep time, he managed to create chips from the biological info from the Avengers and create exact duplicate robots, all with the exact same powers and abilities, which he uses to try and destroy them, after of course using them to have the public and themselves turn on each other via framing them.
Maybe you haven't noticed, but we don't need you anymore, Thor. We think it'd be better if you just left Earth altogether.
What? Iron Man, I do not understand. What?
Take him!
And he even had enough spare time in the day to build over 3,000 Ultron drones, along with rebuilding all his previous bodies as well, each one better and more upgraded than the last.
Back off! You can't hurt me!
False. You are referring to the flaw in Ultron 5's programming. I am Ultron 6. The flaw has been corrected.
Oh yeah, then there was that time he used that weird miscrap to turn the human race into robots, or that time he took control of the entire planet of Titan and released planetary range of spores, or that time he led the Sons of Yinsen religion into being a suicidal terrorist death cult and enhanced them further with a synthetic skin machine, and had them commit mass suicide for the lulz. Or that time he created a swarm of flesh-eating nanomachine robots despite his entire body being imprisoned. Yeah, there were a lot of these feats, but we don't want to be stuck here all day, so let's move on. The density of Ultron's exoskeleton varies depending on what materials he builds his body out of. The Ultron drones, as well as Ultrons 1 and 5, are made out of titanium steel. Ultrons 6 through 14 are made out of secondary adamantium, while the Ultimate Ultrons are made out of pure adamantium, a fictional type of metal that even by Marvel Comics standards is completely indestructible.
The robotic demon has much to answer for.
My chassis is comprised of pure adamantium now, Avenger. It is unbreakable, even by your hammer.
And it's the same substance that composes Wolverine, Lady Deathstrike, and Daken's skeleton, Moon Knight's staff, Underworld's bullets, and Captain America's shield. Because of this, Ultron is among the most durable characters in the Marvel multiverse. He laughs off attacks from multiple Avengers at once. Even Thor's mightiest physical blow did nothing more than slightly dent it. According to his stats, his resilience is rivaled only by the Skyfathers, who wipe out entire galaxies just by getting into slugfests, abstract or at least celestial level beings who, for, well, explanation's sake, can disrupt the dimensional fabrics of the entire universe just by flexing their powers. The only known characters who are capable of breaking adamantium are abstract level characters like Thanos after he created the Infinity Gauntlet. Dr. Doom, naturally being the living embodiment of badass, was able to break Captain America's shield, but he needed to absorb both the powers of Galactus, who, by the way, even in his weakest state is a universal level being, and pre-retcon Beyonder, who sent shockwaves throughout the entire multiverse just by holding hands with another dude. This alone would put his endurance at universe level, but I'm trying to be fair here, so let's lolball it. Because I'm super duper generous like that, you guys. You don't even understand. I'm so fucking nice. Ultron's durability is at the very least more durable than high-end Herald level characters like Silver Surfer and Adam Warlock. The Silver Surfer, even in his debut, ruptured stars just by flying through them and surfed through the supernova because, I mean, wouldn't you? And then we have Adam Warlock, who tanked being in the indirect epicenter of a clash between Thanos and the Celestial beings, which, according to the narration, was strong enough to completely wipe away any and all solar systems in its vicinity, and created a dimensional rift, and according to Adam and Norrin Rad, it basically just broke the universe and made it uninhabitable. But there's another character he's more durable than. Thanos. The same Thanos who took a full force blast from the Silver Surfer and was mildly irritated, understandably so, and was inside the crushing force of a black hole that's 4 light years in diameter, and came out looking like this. By the way, scoring extra points for how casually he brought it up. And he's also someone who held his own against Odin Borson, flat out tanking some of his cosmic level energy blasts, which according to the narrator in a different issue, is strong enough to obliterate galaxies and reignite dying stars. And even more impressively, Galactus, who by the way is far above Odin's level, thus easily putting Ultron's adamantium durability at galaxy to universe level. That means at the very, very least, the durability of Ultron's adamantium is 1.5 trillion times more durable than a neutron star. Just like Iron Man, Ultron is always surrounded by an invisible force field. This force field works exactly like a highly concentrated microwave that instantly burns away any living flesh entering its range, which only beings like the Vision are able to slip through, thanks to his robot composition and intangible skill in phasing through solid objects and molecules. Extremis Ultron's force field is strong enough to completely break Ares' axe on impact, shatter the original Iron Man suit, and melt Mole Man's army of kaijus in a disgusting puddle. As if his indestructible armor wasn't difficult enough, you'd also have to worry about a force field that can withstand planetary attacks from Class 100 characters. Now I'm sure you're wondering, if his body's made of the densest material in the universe, how is he able to move around so freely? This is because of the molecule rearranger built inside of his body. It lets him manipulate the molecules of the adamantium, which both makes him immune to other beings with abilities like technopathy, transmutation, and magnetism, such as Iron Man, Magneto, Adam Warlock, and the Silver Surfer. It also allows him to shapeshift and change his form into a human. Or, whatever, I mean, I don't know, he only did it once. I'm guessing he can do that. And most impressively, in the off chance that somebody manages to break him, whether it's because he's using a body that's not made out of adamantium, or his foes found a way to injure him despite his adamantium armor, his body instantly recovers and regenerates.
Might take a while. But Ultron systems are designed to repair. As long as there's enough of him, it can always come back.
He can instantly regenerate all the circuits being destroyed in his body by his daughter-in-law, the Scarlet Witch, in a matter of seconds, and completely recover from limbs being blown off and just about any other type of injury one could make on him. As if being durable enough to withstand planetary nuclear devices wasn't strong enough.
You know what's more destructive than a nuclear bomb? Words.
One of Ultron's main talents is manipulating and firing a surging stream of ionized energy from his body, which is the energy source his body runs on. It's pretty much what that glowing red shit is. These energy blasts are strong enough to injure the Hulk. And even burn the flesh off of Thor's body, and knock the sturdiest Avengers directly onto their keister. Oh, pardon my foul language. I mean their asshole. You can also use a concentrated form of ionized energy to stun an enemy and put them on a death-like coma for several hours. This weapon is called the Encephalo-Ray, a laser beam that instantly knocks out what even his energy blasts were unable to yield.
You were in some kind of coma. The Encephalo-Ray. It's a non-lethal weapon I installed. Some of Ultron's safety protocols must still be working.
I don't think so.
You know what, Tony? Why don't you just, f*** you, Tony. He's also able to use it for other purposes like mind reading, mind wiping, and mind control. A lot of mind shit, basically. Victor Von Doom also built a disintegrator ray in Ultron's system, which is a beam that separates the molecules on impact and completely dematerializes it. His energy projection is easily equal to his physical attacks, so this means his firepower is 52 zetatons. That's 9.6 trillion times more powerful than every nuclear weapon in the entire world put together. With that kind of destructive capacity, it would be right at the level of busting the planet Earth, and it wouldn't just destroy the moon, it would completely disintegrate it. Contrary to what you might think and what is officially said about him, Ultron technically isn't a robot. If anything, he's an unbelievably advanced computer virus that can infect any machine or even organic life. Actually, very eerily similar to Agent Smith from the Matrix movies.
Yes, me.
If his body is somehow destroyed or even completely annihilated at the molecular level, his disembodied consciousness will instantly infect and possess any nearby form of machinery. even if it's also a fellow AI. So actually, in most cases, it actually helps him. Like in the Ultron initiative, he was able to hack into Tony Stark's body very easily because of Tony permanently turning his entire body into a living supercomputer during the pivotal Extremis arc. Ultron is, in every sense of the word, unkillable. Even anchoring his consciousness to a body and destroying it wouldn't work, because eventually his body will be repaired either through regeneration or having it fixed by mentally enslaving someone to do it for him. During the Annihilation Conquest story arc, after having his consciousness forcefully ripped out of Adam Warlock, don't ask, it's kind of a long story. Okay, it's not a long story, but I just don't feel like explaining it. His consciousness even went so far as to going into orbit to possess the android Pax-Agora on a spaceship. Also, check it out, it's Peekaboo.
He does exist!
Okay, well, you can't kill him by destroying his body, you can't destroy his body because it's indestructible, and you can't even kill him by ripping out his evil robot soul. So how do you kill him? Well, it's actually pretty simple. You don't.
Upload complete.
The only permanent solution the Marvel heroes could come up with to get rid of him was to go back in time and prevent him from ever existing. Spoiler alert, that was a stupid idea. Being an evil automaton come to life, Ultron is, of course, an incredibly powerful telepath. Yeah, I know, I never got the connection either. Bish bosh lish losh. That doesn't take away from this being one of Ultron's dailiest qualities. Most of the time him returning from the dead involves telepathically enslaving someone or something to rebuild him, then erasing their memories. Even characters with mental barriers to resist mind control like Tony Stark. This also leads to some pretty creative trickery like in his debut when operating as the new leader of the Masters of Evil, under the disguise as the Crimson Cowl. He used his high-level telepathy to not only have Tony Stark's butler Jarvis squeal about every secret in the Avengers Mansion, but even mentally enslave him to have him soak up the blame as being the real mastermind behind it all.
It's textbook twattage.
He's also able to use his high-level telepathy through interrogation, like when he interrogated Star-Lord.
Who?
Not simply getting the information out of someone verbally, but ripping the information he wants out of their bleeding frontal lobe.
Maria Christina Hill, Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. As such, you are in possession of information not contained in any database on the planet. The security codes for the worldwide S.H.I.E.L.D. arsenal.
And you think I'm gonna hand them over to you?
You misunderstand. I am not asking. As I said, your compliance is unnecessary. Scanning and replicating the human mind was the first thing I ever learned.
And the most impressive of all is when the evil Phalanx Empire, a race of highly intelligent robotic psychic beings bent on assimilating everyone and everything in the universe, come across Ultron's disembodied consciousness and attempt to absorb him. But that ends up being a pretty bad idea because Ultron's psychic abilities are so powerful, he assimilates them and the entire Phalanx race in a few seconds, and becomes the direct center of its hive mind. Naturally, you can't be an OG without having a few weaknesses. Like my weakness, for example, is that I'm too nice. Bitch. Point is, everyone has a weak spot, and Ultron is no exception. In fact, he has 5 major weaknesses. Number 1, those earphone-looking things. They're directly connected to his power core and control system. Break or remove these, and he'll break down almost as fast as a Dell computer. However, later on, Ultron fixed this little bug by rebuilding his entire body out of pure adamantium. Number 2, his body runs on pure ionic energy. So if his body gets drained of this, then much like a human who lost too much blood, his body goes limp and breaks. Unless, of course, he gets near any other type of energy source that could power him. Number 3, his sheer arrogance. Most of the time, Ultron's defeat is mostly because he ends up getting blindsided because he's too busy boasting. Number 4, vibranium, the anti-adamantium and Ultron's own personal kryptonite. Vibranium is able to break and rupture any and all forms of metal, and is one of the few counter weapons against adamantium. So it's no surprise that beating the shit out of him with this stuff will make him croak. And his biggest weakness of all, his inner circuits. Ultron's outer exoskeleton may be indestructible, but that doesn't make his insides any less sensitive. So because of this, he has several natural enemies among the Avengers. His daughter-in-law, the Scarlet Witch, is able to use her hex powers to make his entire inner system crash and break. His son, the Vision, is able to phase through his body and can kill him by, how do I put it?
Tearing him apart from the inside.
Then there's the Human Torch, who can raise his temperature up to 1 billion degrees Celsius and radiate the heat through the adamantium ardor and completely fry his insides. Though, according to Cap and the High Evolutionary, this much heat is at least required. So you'd have to have a spare supernova lying around. But you'd be surprised how often that shit is in Marvel. And finally, Class 100 characters. As Wonder Man demonstrated, if you get past Ultron's force field, you can destroy him by smashing him hard enough against the ground that causes complete internal damage. Well, surely if a character has long-range energy attacks, they'd be safe from him, right? No, wrong, man. You're wrong, man.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like, your opinion, man.
One of the skills Ultron picked up over the years was energy absorption, both making his enemy weaker while making him even stronger. Even Iron Man was able to completely siphon the energy from a low Herald level character like Terrax the Tamer, though it did fry his circuits afterwards. So obviously we can scale this to Ultron, who can basically do anything Tony Stark can do but better, except alcoholism. No wait, he did that too.
How about that?
He can absorb any type of power and add it to his own. Pure energy, light, electricity, radiation, even magic and Scarlet Witch's hex powers. He can drain all of Iron Man's power in a time frame of a single panel, and reducing him to just being a normal genius billionaire playboy philanthropist. But how strong is he compared to the Marvel Universe? In Marvel, Ultron is ranked as what I call cosmic level. Characters who are well capable of destroying planets and moons and shit, but still pale in comparison to more powerful characters like the Heralds of Galactus. In terms of power, he's above the likes of Iron Man, Wonder Man, the Hulk, Quasar, and the Fantastic Four, but again, below Herald level characters. But how strong is Ultron overall? Well, the only real interesting way to know for sure is to compare his power and abilities to other universes, and see how well he matches up. I asked some of you what series you wanted me to compare him to, and I did get a few responses. And well, generally, these are pretty much the series that came up. Yeah, I know, I don't see the connection either. Pokemon is a surprisingly powerful universe. Regardless, Ultron pretty much steamrolls through the whole thing. The only Poké characters that he loses to is the Creation Trio. Yep, pretty much the Poké gods who created the Pokéverse with their Pokénipotent Poké powers. Kind of a no-brainer that he would be below the likes of universal level characters that can control time, space, reality, and whatnot. He would also be below the likes of telepathic juggernauts like the Lake Trio. However, he would probably beat them if he plays his Pokemon cards right. Another pretty powerful universe, one where upper-level Jedi Knight characters can move nearly as fast as the speed of light, have telepathic mind-f***ing powers, and are planetary-level threats. However, Ultron still gets pretty far here. There are several higher characters that can mentally imprison him, but his high-level technopathy powers would cause major problems, especially on a series that's 99% dependent on machines. You would just have to hack into like a Sun Crusher or the Death Star or something and it'll be game over. Yep, Marvel's competition for over 80 years! Ultron clears through a lot of the lower and mid-tier characters like Zatanna, Superboy, Captain Atom, maybe some of the weaker Green Lantern Corps, if you're good, but gets absolutely demolished by mid to high tier characters like Superman, Wonder Woman, any of the Flashes, Hal Jordan, Martian Manhunter, Etrigan, Firestorm, your mother, etc. Moving on. Oh goody, controversy. Yep, you can't talk about how powerful any fictional character is without comparing it to one of the most popular fighting franchises of all time. No matter where I rank him here, Jimmy's will be Russell's. Anywho, thanks to his combination of telepathy, speed, assimilation, galaxy range, teleportation, technopathic powers, Ultron should make it up to the higher tiers of the Android saga. More specifically, he should make it up to around Perfect Cell and Super Saiyan Gohan's level. Since characters at this tier have demonstrated the necessary strength to rupture the circuits with internal damage and resist mind control to some degree. But again, this is all just my opinion. Regardless of wherever you rank him, there's no denying that Ultron is a powerhouse with an ugly force to be reckoned with.
Children. Unexpected. Assessment. Potential threats. Commencing termination.
Thanks for watching, and if you have any suggestions, feel free to message me them. Catch you next time.
He knew the world would not be the same. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture. Vishnu takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."